All right. If you can hear me, it's working. This is my first YouTube live session. So I'm doing this to prepare for the live stream that I have scheduled tomorrow on YouTube, which is CCNA Study Session. So I didn't advertise this to anybody. If you happen to be stumbling on this streaming session, congratulations. There's no other reason that I'm doing it other than to test. And I figured while I was testing, I might as well record the next video in our CCNP ENCOR series at CBT Nuggets, which is going to be on establishing BGP IPv6 sessions. So that way you can see a little behind the scenes what it looks like for me to create a video at CBT Nuggets. So I'll try and give you an audible on everything that I'm doing. I just literally kick off my slippers. I try to move everything out of the way because if you've seen me before, a lot of my teaching is super animated. So I'll knock everything out of the way, knock things over, fall over myself. So what I'm going to do, so let me get into it. I'm going to be teaching on establishing BGP sessions for IPv6. I've already completed the module for CCNP ENCOR on doing BGP for IPv4, at least the basic how to get BGP set up kind of thing. We'll get into some more advanced BGP stuff later. So now I'm going to do a basic IPv6 nugget. So this will be what it looks like. So again, to give you the flyby view, so you can see what's going on. My camera is right here. Behind the camera that I'm staring at when I look up is about a 65-inch TV that I have as one of my monitors. So I can look at the TV like I am right now and actually be staring right at the camera, and I can see exactly what you're seeing. Right here is one computer screen, a monitor with just a web browser right now. Over here is the one that I actually write on. This is where my PowerPoint slide pops up, where you'll see that in a second. One more thing. I'm actually going to make sure that I have. So at CBT Nuggets, we use something called Lab on Demand. This is one of the new things. You can check this out. This is where we actually have a fully simulated Cisco environment, so you can actually do the stuff that we're teaching. So I'm going to just make sure this is all set up because I'm planning on doing plenty of demos in this, right? So I see there's actually 7 people joining us right now. And again, if you're just joining us, I did not advertise this. This is primarily a test for tomorrow, but I figured I would actually do a video recording for CBT Nuggets and live stream that all at the same time so you can see what's going on. So that will allow me to get a good test of everything. So everything checks out. So here we go. This is how I do a CBT Nugget recording. Intro. It's time to build the routing table of the new internet. By the time we're done here, we will configure IPv6 BGP neighbor relationships to a virtual internet carrier, receive routes, and verify the sessions are actually working. So we are talking about the world of the Internet 2. That is the new internet, the internet that's been slowly building on the side over the years. Now, a lot of people think that there's going to be this big D-Day button where it's like, okay, Y2K, click, and IPv4 internet goes away. That's not going to be how it happens. The Internet 2, as some people call it, is already being built. As a matter of fact, you can get connections to it from various carriers. You can get your website, communicating across that. There's all kinds of bridges between the current internet, which is the IPv4 internet, and the Internet 2 of the future. So what we're going to be talking about in this nugget is going to be how to set up the BGP relationships using and over the IPv6 protocol. We're going to do that through a learning lab environment. And this is my favorite way of teaching because it allows you to see a real life scenario. And then we say, okay, well, how do we do the technology to figure that out? So if you already think you know what's going on, feel free to dive right into the lab environment, start up the lab and go at it and get this thing established. If you haven't done this before, or you are just learning the BGP for IPv6, then come along. I'm going to show you how this goes. So let's read through it together. So lab objectives. You have begun the initial stages of building a new data center called Fishnet Networks. The small startup will have one uplink carrier, BigNet, along with 2 customers, each having their own IPv6 connection. So just to diagram this, right here is you. This is what you're building. And when you build a data center, you actually have multiple customers that will co-host or co-locate their equipment at your data center. Now, in the IPv6 world, anybody can easily go out and get a massive, like billions of addresses block from whatever government authority is in your region. In America, it's ARIN. So you can go there, grab a block of IPv6. So rather than going to carriers like you have to do with IPv4 because we're out of IPv4 addresses and ask them for an allocation, you will go to ARIN and get your own block. It's mine. It's my island. I will stand on it. So these customers did that, and it just so happens because I wanted to use this for summarization later. They're kind of consecutive. So this one has the network 2001:A00::/64. Now, again, if you're coming out of IPv4, IPv6 is still fairly new to you. This says this represents the network, and essentially the 4 hextets, that's the new octet, right? After that will represent the hosts on that network, right? So we've got essentially network 0 right here and network 1. This right here, 2001 FF01 ::1, 2, and 3 are the host IDs that the Fish1 router are using to communicate with each one of them. So the initial phase of this deployment will involve establishing the IPv6 peers. So we're going to start the BGP process on Fish1, C1, and C2. That's these guys, right? Get that configured with both eBGP and iBGP. So this is our E, this is our I, right? BGP outside and inside the autonomous system. Set up a router ID. Now, in the IPv6 world, if you do not have any IPv4 addresses on your router, this becomes mandatory. Like it's no longer like, oh, that's nice. You have to do it. And you'll see that when we do the lab together. We'll then set up all the IPv6 BGP sessions and then verify that everything is working as we expect. So if you haven't paused yet, do it now if you want to work through the lab without me. Otherwise, here we go. So I'm going to grab the lab, bring it on over. And all the action is going to happen on this Fish router. So I'll flip back and forth between this router and the lab scenario so we can see the IP addresses. So I'm just going to do a quick show IPv6 interface brief. And sure enough, I see all the interfaces that are created. There's my internal gig 0/0. Now I didn't put interface labels on the network diagram. This is that you can look at the addresses, 2001 FF, and you can see right there, that's this network. Then I've got gigabit Ethernet 1/0, which is the connection up here to the BigNet carrier. Then I have gig 2/0, which is the connection up here to the MidNet carrier. And all the addresses have already been assigned, so that way we can focus just on BGP. So our step 1 is start the BGP routing process on all 3 routers. So let's go to Fish1, C1, and C2. All of them are going to be in autonomous system right here, 64,777, right? So each router can only be in one autonomous system. So I'll go into global configuration mode on our Fish router, conf-t. Router BGP 64777, hit the enter key, and bam, the routing process has started. Now, we immediately get an error message saying BGP could not pick a router ID. Please configure manual. What it's not telling you is BGP won't work without it. Now, even though we've stepped into the IPv6 world, BGP still uses an IPv4-based router ID. Because remember, the router ID is just the name. It looks like an IP address, but technically it's not an actual IP address. So you can make up whatever you want for that router ID. So I'm going to hit the enter key a couple of times, and I'll do a BGP router ID, and I think it actually said in the lab, set up the router ID as follows. You can see Fish1, C1, and C2. So I'll do BGP router ID 1.1.1.1. hit the enter key, boom, we're good. Okay, so let's get the routing process started on the other C1, C2 routers. I'll go C1, global config, bam, it's there. BGP router ID 1.1.1.2 is what it was telling us, and you can see that right back here in the lab. Fish1, C1, C2, right? And then C2. Let's go in there. Global config mode. Right click, paste that in there. Router BGP 64777. Now remember, just the fact that all of these routers are in the same autonomous system and will have neighbor commands to tie them together is how it knows to do IBGP, internal BGP, right? So I'll hit the enter key on that. And yeah, we've got that configured for all of them. Now I'm going to go back to the Fish1 router and let's get the neighbor statement set up, because that's where we are on step 3 down there. Establish, actually step 2, I forgot to do that right here. Yeah. BGP router ID 1.1.1.3 for our C2 router there. So I'm going to come back to the Fish router and let's tie in the BGP neighbors right now. So let me just whisk this out of the way. I see Fish1 and you can see the IPv6 addresses right here going to mid 1. That's going to be one address, big 1, and then the 2 internal customer routers. So we're going to literally need 4 neighbors for the Fish1 BGP router, right? Good, let's do it. So I'm going to come over here, bring this kind of partially in the screen so I can see all the addresses at the same time. Can we fit it all? Ish, right? That should be good, right about there. Yeah, ish. So I'll do on Fish1 neighbor, and we'll say 2001:0:0:11:1. Now, again, in IPv6 world, you remember that the ::1 represents all zeros from the beginning of the network all the way to the host, which is just 1, which you can see is the mid 1 router. Now, I'm going to say that's the neighbor, and the first command, just like in IPv4 BGP, is going to be the remote autonomous system, and we will say 65.450. That's the autonomous system of Midnet. You can see that in the upper left corner there, right? Let me just get this over a little bit. There we go. So hit the enter key. Now, there is one big difference between IPv6 BGP and IPv4. Naturally, IPv4 is running on the router. Its routing is enabled. Actually, I'm going to give away what we have to do. Watch this. I'm going to type in the next step, which is going to activate BGP for IPv6. Watch this. I'm going to do address family IPv6. And I bet you it's going to give me... Yeah, it's going to give me an error message saying IPv6 routing is not enabled, because on most Cisco routers, only IPv4 routing is turned on by default. So it's like, I got to exit back out. And we have to do this on every single one of the routers or it won't work. You do IPv6 unicast routing. Now, typically in the world, if you would have gotten to this point where you're configuring BGP, you would have done that command long ago. I just wanted to make sure that I left it to where you had to type it in, because if you don't, it will come back and bite you. So I'm going to go to the customer router. Let's just paste that in. Customer 2 router, paste that in, so that way it's done on all 3 routers, right? Now I'm going to go back into the router BGP process, right about there. Good. And now I'm going to type in address family IPv6, right? And now I'm going to type in neighbor, same neighbor command right here, right click, and I'm going to type in activate. That command is an easy one to forget. The reason it's there, just logically look at it. Look at it right there. Address family IPv6, it just came up. Address family IPv6, neighbor, we type in the same neighbor that we typed in the remote autonomous system for a moment ago, and then we say, turn it on. What do you think it's doing? Right? It's turning on the neighbor for IPv6. IPv4 is running by default, so you don't have to do that by default on IPv4, right? But IPv6, it's almost, and we'll learn more about this as we dig deeper into BGP, it's almost like a train car attached to the BGP messages, where you've got the engine chugging along, and you've got the little secondary car carrying the IPv6 routes after it. The beauty is they didn't have to scrap and redo BGP like they did with OSPF. I mean, OSPF v3 is kind of almost a total rewrite rewrite of OSPF because they had to adapt it to IPv6. With BGP, they're like, let's just use BGP. I mean, that's why you're typing in an IPv4 address as the router ID, right? Let's just use BGP and stick a little train car on the end of the advertisements that'll carry the IPv6 routes. It's kind of cool. So very little work was necessary. Okay, so that's one neighbor. That's the first. That's midnet. Hang on, let me look over here because I can't see the big net. So there we go. I'm going to hit the up arrow. Let's get all of the neighbor statements in, and then we'll activate them all at the same time, right? So I'm going to come back here and we'll get the second neighbor statement in, and I'll hide my head for a moment. Oh, nope. Okay, all of me. So I'm going to get the second neighbor. Oh man, I'm all over the place. Here we go. The second neighbor statement in the configuration. So this will be 12::1, which is going to be the big net in the upper left corner, right? And we'll say the remote autonomous system is going to be 65500. Hit the enter key. Now I'm just going to hit the up arrow and let's do the internal neighbors, right? We've got, so those are going to this is how it knows it's an internal neighbor. I'll do remote AS 64777, right? And we'll say the neighbor right here is going to be 2001:A:0:0. Oh, wait, I was staring at the customer network. No. The neighbor, back up, is going to be 2001:FF:0:1:2, right? You see that right there on the C1 router? And then over here, C2, the beauty is I'll just hit the up arrow, change that to a 3. They're all on the same network. Good. That should be good. Now I can type in address family. Here, I'll just scoot this back over. Boop, there I am. So address family, IPv6, and then I will do the neighbor statements. We'll be going, shoop right here, right click, and we will do activate. Shoop right here like this, right click, activate, and then I'll just hit the up arrow right here and do 3 and hit activate. Good. All of those in. Now you notice the 2 carrier ones came up, right? That's because we have to configure the customer ones. So at this point in the video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to configure the customer ones on hyperspeed. I'm going to put some music to this and go really fast through this. And then because you've already seen it, and then we'll look and do some show commands to verify how everything is working, right? Okay, here we go. Okay. So I'm gonna pause right there. So if you're just joining us, I see there's 12 people. They're like, is this pre-recorded? No, this is actually a live stream. What I'm doing here, if you're just joining us, is I'm actually testing my live stream because I plan to do it tomorrow for a CCNA study session. I've never live streamed on YouTube before. So I figured I would test it by actually live streaming how I record a CBT Nuggets video, and I'm doing it with IPv6 BGP neighbor sessions. So now let me show you this. So this is where I would go, and here I'll hide my head because normally I would be doing this. I wouldn't be saying a word because in the editing process, I would go through and actually edit this whole thing, cut out all the sound and just put some music and speed it up, like 10 times faster so people can see this. So let me get these guys configured. Okay, so I'm going to do router BGP. We will do, let me scoot this back over. So this is customer 1. So we will do a neighbor 2001:FF:0:1:1 remote autonomous system. It will be 64777, which is iBGP. Hit the enter key, and that's the only neighbor that we'll need right there. And actually, I can save myself some typing. Highlight that, come over to the customer 2 router, hit the up arrow, get into router BGP, paste that in, and I should see, and I want to see, those neighbors come up. So we've got, I totally forgot. I just totally forgot right after I told everybody what to do. IPv6, and I need to activate those neighbors. See, this is why it's good that it's on hyperspeed, is nobody will see that I forgot. So I'll come in there and I will do activate, enter, and then come back here, global config, router BGP. BGP, and we will go address family IPv6. And then I will do this neighbor command right there. Activate. Good. And that should bring up the neighbor sessions. There we go. Yeah. So you can see right there, neighbors up, neighbors up. Good. So now, for those that are live streaming with me and watching me, now I'm going to go back to my CBT Nuggets recording mode and get everything verified. Right? All right. So here we go. All right, so those neighbors have been brought up. I can see now on the customer 1 and the customer 2 routers, the neighbors are reporting up. So now let's get into the verification commands because it's a little bit different. If you're used to IPv4 BGP, it's going to look something. You'll be pleasantly not surprised, unsurprised, however that works. So you're used to typing in show IP BGP, right? And it's like nothing there. Okay, show IP BGP summary, which normally shows the neighbors. Nothing there, right? Now, I know you're probably thinking, oh, so it's like show IPv6. No, Cisco's like, we're going to up the pay scale of our Cisco certified folks because we're going to do show BGP IPv6. Why not, right? So show BGP IPv6, hit the enter key. And now, again, just like the, and actually, this is a great point right here. This command is deprecated. So it used to be show BGP IPv6. It would be like the show IP BGP, show BGP IPv6 summary. And I'm going to type it in. It's going to say, oh, this command is deprecated as well because what they've done is they've said, they being Cisco, let's organize all the, you can see the command, even though it's not in the context sensitive help, it still works. It just gives you the message, this is deprecated. You got to stop using it, right? They want you to choose what kind of IPv6 address family you're talking about. So they just squeezed unicast, which is so annoying. Unicast in front of everything. So this is the equivalent, show BGP IPv6 unicast is the equivalent of show IP BGP, right? And this is where I can see all of the routes being received by the C1 router. Now, you can see that none of them are being chosen as the best path. And the reason why is just the same. If you haven't seen the IPv4 BGP videos, you might want to go check those out. Same. When the routes, so let's look back at the network diagram, right? When the routes are being advertised in from BigNet and MidNet to the Fish1 router, they're coming in via eBGP, right? Then they're being passed to the customer 1 and customer 2 router via iBGP. And the rule of iBGP is you never, ever, ever change BGP attributes, including the next hop address. So when you're advertising the network, so let's just say it's network A, right? When it's advertising from Big 1, it's the next hop address, right? So when that's then advertised from the Fish1 router to the customer router, that next hop doesn't change. And therein lies the problem. Check this out. When I bring up my configuration window, this C1 router is like, okay, I see the next hop. That's actually BigNet and MidNet right here. But if I do a show IP route or a show IPv6 route, how about that? It's like, I don't know how to get to those guys. So if I want those to be reachable, I have to kind of do a hack. By coming out right here and saying for the neighbor, internal neighbor, let's see, where am I? I'm on, so this will be customer 2 router. I'm going to do next hop. Actually, this might be under the address family. So let's go into address family, IPv6, hit the up arrow, and we'll do neighbor, and instead of activate, we'll put in the next hop self command, right? This is what allows us to say, I'm the next hop. You're kind of bending the rules of BGP by changing an attribute as you advertise over iBGP, right? And so I'm going to say that for both of the internal client routers. So it'll be able to reach that next hop self. Okay, it'll be able to reach that next hop address. So those will, as the updates come through, those will eventually get in there. So now, let's check the sessions. I'm going to go on my client 1 router and let's go up to the Fish router. We'll see a lot more action there. And I'm going to type in, let's bail out here and do a show BGP. Again, to view IPv6 BGP, we do show BGP, IPv6, and then unicast. So that's going to be, which again is so annoying. You have to type that before every single command that you type in. Then you type in, for instance, summary. It's the equivalent of show IPBGP summary. So this shows all of the neighbors, and you can see here's midnet, here's BigNet, right? And I can see each one of these have 9 prefixes that have been received. So that's the number of networks that have been received right there, right? And I can do the show IPBGP on there, and I can see all those networks and what they are. I can see here's the first network, 2001 : or 001 /64. That's one of the networks. That this next hop right here was chosen as the best, right? It's like that's who I'm using. This, you can think of it like a backup, right? It's in the BGP table, but it didn't make it into the routing table. I'll do a show IPv6 route, and I can see these are the best of the best. The routing table isn't everything the router knows. It's just the best of what it knows. So I can see all those routes and which ones were chosen right there. But that should be it. Hang on, let me make sure we hit all of the, wrong button. We hit all of the objectives. You can see down at the bottom. I'm losing my screen. Hang on, let me see if I can scoot this back up. There we go. Verify BGP sessions are established and BGP routes populate the BGP table and routing table on all routers in your autonomous system. We just did that and we are looking good. So that being said, we have configured IPv6 BGP neighbor relationships to a virtual internet carrier, received routes, and verified sessions. I hope this has been informative for you and I'd like to thank you for viewing. So my friends on the YouTube live stream, that I don't know how, I don't think. Oh wait, there we go. I can see the chat now. That is how I create a video for CBT Nuggets. Now I would go back and edit all of the sections that I said I need to speed up and things like that. But it's very much as just like you would expect the training to be. So that said, let me. So we'll stop the recording side of it, which I think if I hit this button, if I go away, then okay, no, that works. So now I'm just streaming. So now I can say some quick hellos. Brian Castillo, hello from Florida. Hey Brian, Prince of Greater Somalia. Hey Jeremy, will the CCNP ENCOR be available yet at CBT Nuggets? So the answer, that's actually the number one question I've gotten in the last probably month, once the CCNA course was finished. So myself, Keith Barker, Chuck Keith, Knox Hutchison, and Jacob Moran, I think, no, Jeff Kish, sorry, not Jacob, Jeff Kish, 5 trainers, 1 course, CCNP ENCOR. So we are literally all recording it together right now and building it. I would guess that it will be done in probably about 2 months. This is the beauty. This is why we have the multi-instructor courses, is we can produce them so much faster than back when I was just producing all of the CCNA and CCNP content on my own. Shala! Good to see you. I just saw your chat pop in there. Jack saying, this is really cool. Looking forward to the NP training on CBT Nuggets. So hi from Ireland. I saw someone else from Nigeria as the country sound. I should move this over so I can. I don't know how to move it over. I'm still learning YouTube Live. Oh, look at this. There we go. Pop out chat. There we go. Now I can look at the screen while seeing the chat. There we go. Now it's better. So let's do. I mean, again, this. If you're just joining me, I literally am doing this. I've only streamed on Twitch. I'm doing this to test YouTube live streaming, just to see if it works before I do the CCNA study session for tomorrow. So Shala, now that I have you as close to in person as I can, congratulations on getting your CCNA. That is spectacular, and go learn some Spanish. So let's just do a quick, if you have, so it's about 5:15 here in my time zone. So with limited time, with my family out there waiting, ask questions. Is there anything that you have any questions about that you can jam in there? just in the next, we'll just say 5 minutes, I can answer anything that I can squeeze in. Sam just passed T-Shoot with an A65. Sam, if you are the majority of people who take T-Shoot last, that means you did it. You got your CCNP, and that's awesome. If you're not, good luck, because Switch and Route are still ahead of you. I'll just hang out here for 5 minutes or so. If you have any questions, chat them in. So Tom said, for the new cert tracks, what are your study sources? Good question. Actually, what I've been doing is grabbing. I just got this book in the mail literally about a week ago. CCNP, CCIE, Enterprise Core. The beauty of getting these, and by the way, I've written Cisco Press books before. Cisco Press, little known fact, is not Cisco at all. It's Pearson, the people who publish just about every technical book in the world. So the same people who publish exam crams, things like that. So they just have permissions to use Cisco's name and the official exam content in their books. That's why if you want to get prepared for an exam, getting the official cert guides from Cisco Press literally is there should be nothing on the exam that's not covered in these books. Now, of course, on the exam, it may be applying the knowledge that's used in these books, but this will tell you exactly how to do it. So if I'm doing cert prep, I usually do the Cisco Press cert books, right? Don't know if Major Dutch. Don't know if somebody asked this, but should I take the ENCOR exam first? It's a good question. You don't have to. I would, and the reason why is ENCOR is like the hub. You know, it's kind of like you can't really get any other CCNP certification, at least the enterprise ones, without taking ENCOR. Now that is to say, as long as you're going for route switch, which is what I love. But if you go security, obviously that's another path, voice or collaboration, another path, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, if you are going for the enterprise, then I would take ENCOR first, because it's kind of it's like the old CCENT, right? It's like the base of everything that you're going to need to continue on into the other CCNP exams. Good. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions. I see about 18 people tuned in, and that's great, because I didn't advertise this at all. I'm just doing this as a test to get ready for the stream tomorrow. But I will make this stream available when we're done here, which will be probably about 30 minutes on me recording a video for the new ENCOR series, and then you can review that and kind of get a sneak peek of what's to come. Cool. All right. Well, that being said, thanks guys for jumping in on my quick test, and I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going to jump on here and do an ICND2 study session. Inshallah, you don't have to come. Your CCNA, unless you just want to hang out and help people, feel free. But I'm trying to help folks that are going for their CCNA before the February 24th deadline, and go from there. So last question I'll grab, and then we'll wrap up. The Shade is saying, Adrian's like, wait. Okay, you'll get the last question, Adrian. So the Shade saying, I need help understanding MPLS, VRF, route targets, service provider. You know, does CBT Nuggets offer that training? Yes, absolutely. They offer CCNA, CCNP service provider training. I actually did Anthony and myself split the CCNA service provider training. CCNP was done, I think, by Keith or somebody else. Adrian, that was it. Hello. Okay, that's it. Cool. That being said, let me wrap up, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.